Usually when we think about testing cutting-edge technology, we picture, you know, sterile labs, engineers in white coats, climate-controlled rooms, perfectly flat test tracks.
Right. It's a world where everything is totally measured and predictable and perfectly safe, which is the exact opposite of the real world.
Exactly. And that brings us to the incredible sources you, our listener, sent in for today's deep dive. Thank you for that, by the way. We're looking at a couple who turned their 43rd anniversary road trip into, like, the ultimate worst-case scenario stress test for electric vehicles.
Yeah, Evelyn and her partner decided to traverse the red heart of Australia, the Outback.
But instead of taking a rugged, gas-guzzling 4x4, they left the gas car at home and took a Tesla Model Y.
And to understand why the automotive industry is basically accepting this honeymoon trip, we have to look at the Outback itself. This is a uniquely brutal operational theater.
You're dealing with peak solar radiation, right?
Oh, absolutely. Ambient temperatures soaring past 45 degrees Celsius, plus this vast logistical isolation where distances between stops aren't measured in miles, but in days of transit.
So taking an EV designed for city commutes into that environment, I mean, it feels like dropping a luxury smartphone into a sauna. It's a miracle the battery didn't just instantly fry.
That analogy hits the nail on the head, actually, because the immediate threat out there isn't actually running out of charge, it's the heat itself.
Wait, really? Just the ambient temperature?
Yeah, extreme temperatures put immense stress on the battery thermal management system, so the vehicle has to drain its own power rapidly just to actively cool the battery and keep it from experiencing thermal meltdown.
Wow, so it's fighting for its own survival before it even turns the wheels.
Exactly.
But if the car is draining its own battery just to avoid melting, how do they actually make it through the heat?
Well, they survived by taking it incredibly slow and basically plugging into every single wall outlet they could find along the way. But their struggle highlighted a massive flaw in current EV design.
Right, because if active cooling drains the battery that fast, the industry needs a passive solution.
Correct. And ironically, the couple drove right past the answer in a town called Coober Pedy.
Oh, that's the opal mining town, right, where everyone lives underground.
That's the one. You won't see many houses on the surface. They live in homes carved directly into the rock, known as dugouts.
That makes sense, to escape the heat.
Yeah, they use the Earth's natural thermal mass to maintain a perfect, stable temperature, completely escaping that 45-degree heat. And the industry is looking at this for a concept called passive thermal mass integration.
Okay, so instead of relying purely on energy-draining liquid cooling systems.
Right. Systems which act like an overworked air conditioner, future EVs need to incorporate geometric insulation.
Meaning what, exactly? Like wrapping the battery in a literal blanket.
Essentially designing the physical shape of the battery pack to naturally deflect and dissipate heat. That, combined with phase change materials, mimics the buffering effect of those underground dugouts.
I have to push back here, though. I mean, it makes perfect sense for a literal cave, but how realistic is it to pack a car battery with physical insulation without making the vehicle incredibly heavy?
So that is the exact engineering hurdle. Weight kills range. But phase change materials are the workaround. They absorb and release heat by changing state.
Think of wax melting into a liquid and then hardening back into a solid.
Exactly like that. That transition absorbs massive amounts of thermal energy, providing thermal buffering without the sheer bulk of rock or heavy metals.
Okay, so even if future batteries won't melt, Evelyn's current Tesla was still bleeding power out there. How do you find a charging station when you're in the middle of a literal desert?
You don't. And the high-tech systems completely failed to handle that reality. The Tesla's algorithmic navigator couldn't account for the massive energy depletion caused by the heat.
Oh, so the computer thought it had more range than it actually did.
Yep. It also didn't know what to do in a silent zone without a persistent cellular data connection.
It sounds like the high-tech car was totally out of its depth. So without GPS or superchargers, they basically had to rely on the kindness of strangers.
They had to ditch the tech ecosystem entirely. They succeeded by tapping into a decentralized energy grid, which was really just standard 240-volt hotel wall outlets.
It's regular plugs. That is wild.
Right. But more importantly, they relied on an informal peer-to-peer support network. The locals call it the code of the desert. It's symbolized by a simple nod of the hand on the road.
Wow. So a social safety net compensating for the total lack of technical infrastructure.
Precisely. Which brings us to the big picture of this whole trip.
Right. What does this isolated adventure mean for the future of global transportation?
It proves that the no-limits paradigm isn't just marketing hype. If an EV can survive the most isolated, extreme climate on Earth by daisy-chaining standard wall outlets, it's officially moved past being just an urban commuter car.
For you listening, this means the psychological barrier of range anxiety has effectively been de-risked. I mean, if they can cross the red heart of Australia, your commute is going to be just fine.
Absolutely.
And it leaves us with this fascinating question for you to mull over. If a makeshift network of friendly locals and standard wall plugs can sustain a high-tech EV in the middle of a brutal desert, how might our everyday urban surroundings be quietly hiding the infrastructure solutions we think we still need to build? Think about that next time you look around the sterile lab of the city.